Welcome to a playthrough of the game ATC, or Air Traffic Control by Ed James. This is a terminal game, so it requires some imagination to follow what's going on, but it is also sort of a real-time simulator, so it can be extraordinarily stressful after you've played it for just a little while. In fact, I would say that the stress of being an air traffic controller is the theme of this particular game. However, since it's a terminal game, making sense of what you see is a little bit of a problem, so I need to describe the components of the game before we do the playthrough. The first thing is when you open up the game, what takes up most of the space on the game is the radar, or the airspace here, and I've got that highlighted in green. And inside that airspace you have several components. First, there are the planes. In this case, this particular snapshot, there are two planes. A plane A, which is a prop plane. You know that because the A is a capital A, and it's currently at 8,000 feet. That's what the 8 beside the letter A indicates. And then there's another plane. It's the plane B, which is a jet. The lowercase b indicates a jet, and it's at 7,000 feet right now. So the planes are indicated by letters, and then they're followed by a number that tells you what their altitude is, and that ranges from 0 to 9, which is 0 to 9,000 feet. In addition to the planes, there are exits around the airspace. So the radar is telling us where planes can enter and exit the airspace. This is important. Planes will only come into the airspace from those exits, and they will always enter at 7,000 feet. Then as they enter, you'll be given instructions on where they need to go. Either they will need to land in an airport, or they will have to navigate their way to another exit, and they must always go out that exit at 9,000 feet. So they'll enter at 7,000 feet. You got to get them to 9,000 feet. They can only ascend or descend 1,000 feet per turn. I said this is a real-time simulator. There's a turn, and on this default game, it'll happen every 5 seconds. The planes are going to move, and you've got to figure out exactly how you're going to arrange that movement. So we got planes in the radar. We've got the exits in the radar. There are also airports, and here you'll see there are two airports numbered 0 and 1, and the little caret beside the airport, whether it's an up a caret or a greater than sign or less than sign or a V, it indicates the direction a plane needs to be going when it lands at that airport. So at airport 0, for instance, the plane must be going north when it hits altitude 0 at that airport. Airport 1, planes have to be going east when they hit altitude 0. So planes, exits, airports. There are also beacons, and the beacons are interesting. They're on some of the flight paths, and you can give a plane a set of instructions. You can say, go to this beacon, and when you reach this beacon, I want you to do the following. I want you to turn north, or I want you to turn south at that particular beacon. So the beacons can be helpful if you're routing planes along those flight paths. And in fact, speaking of the flight paths, you'll notice that there are some paths marked out with plus signs on the board, and that just indicates the directions that planes will be going when they enter the board from the exit, or if you can get a plane on the flight path, it will be headed towards an exit usually. So getting to a flight path is a useful way to get planes oriented correctly, and you know that they'll be headed out that exit. However, there will be times when there are too many planes to have on all the different flight paths, and you'll want to move the planes off someplace else instead of using the flight paths. To the right of the radar is a status area. Up at the top is the time, and this is essentially just the number of turns. I have said in this default game we're going to have a turn every 5 seconds. There are times when the game slows down just a little bit. You only have 1 or 2 planes, sometimes no planes in your space, and you can push the game along just by hitting the enter key. But that right there indicates how many turns have taken place since the game started, and the goal of the game is simply to stay alive as long as possible, or to prevent planes from running into each other, running out of fuel, or exiting from a direction that they shouldn't exit, or crashing. Don't want them to hit the ground either. And right to the right of the time is the number of planes that you have safely sent to whatever their destination is supposed to be. Then in the status area, there's a list of all the planes that are currently on the radar. And the reason this is there is because each plane will have a destination. So this particular list only has two planes. There's airplane A, the prop plane at 8,000 feet, and it needs to go out exit 5. And then there's plane B, the jet, at 7,000 feet, and it needs to go out exit 4. Now, in some cases, you will have planes that are holding at either, say, exit 0 or exit 1, and those will show up at a little bit further down in this status area, which brings us to the last column, which is the commands. If you've issued a command for a plane that hasn't taken effect yet, it will show up here. So if for instance, if I've instructed the prop plane A to go to 9,000 feet, but it hasn't had a turn yet, then it will show up at this point. Then down below, there is the command entry area, and this is where you type the commands for the planes. And the commands always work as first you type the letter of the plane, then the command, which could be change altitude A, or to turn T. You can tell a plane just to circle with a C. Those are the basic commands. You can also say that you want to ignore a plane. You don't want it highlighted any longer because you know where it's going, and it can just go ahead and proceed out of the airspace. A few rules here, and that is that planes can only turn up to 90 degrees per turn. So if you're wanting to tell a plane to go from east all the way around to northwest, it's going to do that in 2 turns. The other thing to keep in mind is jets will move 1 space every turn. Prop planes will move 1 space every 2 turns. So there will be 2 moves for the jets for every 1 move for the prop planes. And then finally, I believe I mentioned that the altitude changes can only happen 1,000 feet per turn. So that's it. That's the basic space that we're working with. We first have the radar area, we have the status area, we have the commands, and then within the radar we've got the planes, and we've got the exits that they'll come in and go out of, and we've got the airports, and we can work with the beacons, and we've got those paths there that we can work with. So let's go ahead and do a playthrough. And I said this was a real-time simulator. Also, it's a text-based game, and it has its rules in the standard Linux and Unix way of doing things. The rules are a man page, but most interesting on the man page is this particular statement: suspending a game is not permitted. When was the last time an air traffic controller got called away to the phone? So that gives you some sense of the idea behind this particular game. Let's get it started. ATC, we ran the command, and I come up with a single plane in the airspace. It is a jet at 7,000 feet, plane A. It's coming in from exit 6, and it needs to go to airport 1. So we're going to turn it to the southeast, and we're going to go ahead and bring it down to altitude 1,000 feet. So we're fortunate right now. This is the only plane we've got, and we can push the turns along a little more quickly by just hitting the enter key. But as soon as I do that, I get another plane. Prop plane B has come in from exit 7, and it needs to go out exit 3. So I'm going to go ahead and just tell B to go up to altitude 9,000 feet. That's where it's got to be. When it goes out that exit 3 and it's headed in roughly the right direction, we'll just let it do its thing. C has just come in. It needs to go to airport 1 too. So we're going to turn it to the southwest. We're going to bring it down to altitude 1. We have yet another plane holding in an airport, but we'll deal with that in a second. We're going to turn A towards airport 1. I'm going to leave that plane holding at airport 1 because we got to deal with all these others right quick. I'm not stepping it forward because I'm trying to keep an eye on the C. We're going to turn to the east, and now I will step it forward. Now I'm going to tell A to go to altitude 0, and on the next turn that means landing. So going to altitude 0 means hit the ground, and that only works if you're at an airport. So D needs to go out exit 4. It's holding at airport 1. We'll go ahead and take that up to altitude 9. And that means on the next turn we'll see it show up at the airport. We're going to turn it to the north. You'll see it ascending 1,000 feet per turn. It's supposed to go out exit 4, so we're going to turn it this direction. C is getting close to airport 1 where I'm going to have to land it. I'm going to concentrate on it for the moment. I'm a little worried about B and D colliding, but I think we'll be okay. Bring C down to 0 feet. That means land at airport 1. And B, we're going to tell B to turn, well, yeah, we'll turn it to the east just a little bit. Let's just make sure that it's not going to collide with D. Now, this is when we can use a command that tells a plane to do something at a beacon. I'm going to tell D to turn to the southwest when it reaches beacon number 1. That will put it directly in line for exit 4. F has just come in. It needs to go to exit 1. I am going to leave it at 7,000 feet so that it doesn't collide with plane D. B, we're going to start turning back down towards exit 3, and we have yet another one. G needs to go out exit 0. So G, we're going to turn to the east. We're going to take it on up to 9,000 feet. F is actually headed directly toward the exit that it's supposed to be at. I just am not taking it to 9,000 feet until it gets past plane D here. If any planes coincide in all 3 dimensions, they're within 1,000 feet of each other, that is that's it. They collide at that point. So notice that plane D automatically turns to the southwest once it reaches beacon 1, which is what we needed. F and D have passed each other. I'm going to take F on up to 9,000 feet. B is about to be lined up with exit 3. So B, I'm going to turn to the east, and I can ignore B now. It is headed exactly where it needs to go, and it's going to be out of the space. So that removes the marker, and I can just let B go off and do its thing. F is headed in the right direction as well, so I am going to ignore it. I need to keep my eyes on G because it needs to be turned towards exit 0 when it gets to the right spot. We have plane E holding at airport 0, and it needs to go to airport 1. We're going to deal with that in a moment. But let's get to the point that we've got G headed towards exit 0 first. G, turn towards exit 0 northeast. All right, let's get E from airport 0 to airport 1. I'm just going to bring E up to altitude 1,000 feet. Now, I've had another 2 planes come in, and they're on a collision course. We're going to deal with that in a moment. E will turn to the north now. It left airport 1. We're going to turn it now to the northwest. Now we're going to turn it back to the north and tell it to go to 0 feet. That'll be a landing at airport 0. We made it. I and J are on a collision course, and I needs to go to airport 1, so we're going to turn it down this way, and we're going to take it down to 1,000 feet. J needs to go to exit 7, so we're just going to send it due west, but we're going to leave it at 7,000 feet so it doesn't collide with plane F on its way out there. H needs to go out exit 0. It's holding at airport 0. We're going to go ahead and put it up to 9,000 feet. It is a jet. It's going to move pretty quickly. And we're going to turn it northwest. I is headed to airport 1. We'll give it a little bit more, and now I'm going to step the game forward a little bit. Get things the way that we need them. H has to go out exit 0. I is lined up where we can get it to airport 1, so I'm going to head it south. H, I'm going to turn to the north, and I'm going to go ahead and ignore it because it's going where it needs to go. We'll step things forward, except we just got jet L coming in exit 4. It needs to go out exit 6. We're going to turn it to the northwest. We will step things forward just a little bit. J, I'm going to take up to 9,000 feet now that it doesn't look like it's going to collide with anybody. M has come in exit 5. I'll deal with that in a moment because I'm worried about getting I landed at airport 1. Let's go ahead and there we go. I turn to the east and go ahead down to altitude 0. That should take care of I, and L is actually headed out exit 6 like it's supposed to, so I think we're good. M, we're going to turn to the southwest and go ahead and bring it on up to altitude 9,000. We have a prop plane K holding at airport 0. It needs to go to exit 4. We'll go ahead. I will take it up to 9,000 feet, but only after M clears the area here. It's getting close to that airport. In fact, we'll back that out. We need to turn M towards We need to turn it towards the west. Now we can take K up to 9,000 feet and turn it towards the west. So I haven't been using the beacons. I haven't needed to at this point, except for that one plane that we used. We may have a couple more show up here that'll be a little more, where the beacons will be a little bit more useful. So N has come in and it needs to go to airport 0. We'll just take it on down to altitude 1, and I'm going to go ahead and use the beacon. I'm going to tell N to turn south once it gets to beacon number 0. So we'll let that work for us for the moment. That'll get it roughly in the right spot. J, I'm keeping an eye on because I got to turn it towards exit 7. M, I can ignore because it's headed out exit 5. O just popped up. It needs to go out exit 3. I can use that beacon there. I'm worried about it colliding with K, but I think we'll be okay because K is on its way. Oh, K has to be going southwest. Oh, we're going to take it on up to altitude 9,000. Back K, I'm going to turn to the south, get it back on that flight path, and we're going to turn K towards exit 4. I forgot J has to go out exit 7. We're starting to lose track of these things here. Oh, I can ignore because it's headed in the right direction. J, turn towards exit 7. Okay, so far so good. I think everybody's headed in the directions they're supposed to. Just making sure K goes. Yeah, K, we'll ignore that one. P just came in from the northeast. It needs to go out exit 5. I'm just going to take it up to 9,000 feet and let it work its way down close to exit 5. We will now start. Oh, Q. Where's Q? Oh, shoot. It came in from exit 3. It needs to go out exit 5. We're going to turn it to the northwest. We'll let it get past this plane before we tell it to take up to 9,000 in. I need to turn east because we're going to airport 0 with N. All right, exit 5 for both Q and P, but I think we're okay. Let Q get lined up with exit 5, and we're going to turn it to the west. We can ignore that. We just got R in. It needs to go to exit 1. That's okay. We're just going to let it proceed at that altitude for a little bit. I'm going to step things forward because I want to get in landed and out of my hair. In altitude 0. There we go. All right. R we can take up to altitude 9 now that we know it's not going to collide with P. But I've got to remember to turn it at the right spot. Also, P has to turn at the right spot. S needs to go out exit 1. I'm going to go ahead and take it on up to 9,000 feet. T, exit 4, holding at airport 1. T, we're going to turn to the north, or bring it up to altitude 9,000 feet. We're going to turn it to the north. U, exit 4. Oh, shoot. U, turn to the southwest when it reaches beacon 1. T, turn to the west. Getting just a little worried here. Turn to the southwest. P, go towards exit 5. T, turn to the west, and then T also needs to turn to the southwest at beacon 1. That puts it going out exit 4 like it's supposed to. All right, I'm worried about P, but I think P is headed towards its correct exit. S and U won't collide. R needs to be turned towards exit 1 in just one turn. We'll take care of that now. I think I can ignore that. P I can ignore. It's headed in the right way. S was supposed to be turned onto this other flight path here. There we go. U is headed towards exit 4. We're okay with that. Make sure T makes its turn at the beacon. It did. We can ignore it. Let S and U get past each other, and then we'll take U up to 9,000 feet. V needs to go out exit 6. It's headed in exactly the right direction, but it's going to have to pass S, and I'll keep them on 2 different altitudes. U can go up to altitude 9,000. We'll step the game forward now. All right, get V past S. S, we've got to turn towards exit 1. V, we can now take up to altitude 9,000. It's past S. U made the turn it was supposed to towards exit 4. We can ignore it. Just double checking we're headed towards the right exit. V's headed towards the right exit. We can ignore it. S turned towards 1. We can ignore it. And we just had W come in. It also needs to go out exit 6. It's headed to the right place. We can just take it on up to altitude 9,000. S, ignore. And we're down to one plane. Oh, well, now we just got a second one. It needs to go out exit 2, holding at airport 1. We'll take it up to altitude 9,000. X is a prop plane. It's going to take it a little while to get up to where it needs to go. Z needs to go out exit 2 as well. Now, this is interesting. X and Z are headed to the same location. Z is a jet, though. It's going to get there almost as fast. I'm going to turn X directly towards exit 2. I am worried about these two colliding with each other. So I'm going to leave Y holding at airport 1 right now. Z turn this way. And let's keep an eye on this. Oh, this is not good. Oh, shucks, Z. I could circle it. Oh, no, this isn't going to be... There we are. X and Z collided. They were both at 9,000 feet. They were trying to go out X2 at the same time, and that's the end of the game. I made it to the top players because this is the first time I've played through here. But that is ATC, a text-based real-time simulator for air traffic control by Ed James.